Hi Justin and team, my name is Kenji Campbell. I go by Wimp. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I want to be next up. How I got into fighting games is a pretty funny story. I used to go to our local arcade Fantasia when I was a kid, probably about 10 or 11 or so, and I used to play a lot of DDR. Now, a lot of times you're waiting for a long time, you got a bunch of quarters up on the cab, so I'm looking around the arcade and I'm like, oh, this Capcom vs. SNK 2 game looks pretty cool. So started playing, and I remember one day an older guy came up to me. He's like, hey, you want to learn how to play? I'm like, yeah, sure. So he actually showed me how to use fundamentals, okay? Anti-airing, showed me how to play footsies. And I remember one day he asked me, oh, what character looks cool? I was like, oh, Hibiki. She got that sword on her. He's like, oh, well, you gotta check out Bucktooth, that guy's nasty. I'm like, all right, okay. So I go online, look up video. First video I see, Justin Wong versus Bucktooth. And I'm like, okay. And around this time I started playing competitive Smash, but really my main area of focus was Taekwondo. I was competing in Olympic style Taekwondo at the national level for quite a long time. But unfortunately, 3 reconstructive knee surgeries later, gotta retire. So I tried to do some submission wrestling, tried a couple other sports, but recently my focus in martial arts has been on educating and coaching the next generation of athletes. So after I stopped competing, I needed to fill that competitive edge, and so I was like, all right, let's try this competitive gaming thing again. So I rejoined my local Smash scene, started playing Smash 4, made a lot of friends, joined a few tournaments, did some commentary, and then Street Fighter V came out. And our local at Game Clucks, they hosted something every Thursday, so I'm like, okay, let me check it out. And so my very first match was versus a player named Bucktooth. I'm like, oh man, that's funny, it's another Bucktooth. No, it was the same Buck. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, that's weird. So I started getting more involved with that community as well, joined my FGC. But I stopped competing for a while until last year when I started playing Guilty Gear Strive. Played in a couple tournaments around here locally, just pretty casually, but I went to a tournament, Fight Kingdom, up in Everett, and entered CVS2 because I was like, oh cool, I haven't played that in a long time. Second match was versus Bucktooth. Very funny. Years later. And then they put me on commentary for the one CVS2 match, which was Bucktooth versus Justin Wong. You can't make this stuff up. Last year, I started competing in Street Fighter 6, and the game hit home. I'm back in, baby. And so I started to play with Manon. I thought she was cool. Turns out she was not great, but that's okay. We did okay locally, competitively. I got on my pools at EVO, first time EVO. Got 17th at the PAX Almost Pro Open, had to qualify for that one, got free PAX badges. Got 5th at the recent Anime Washington, but that was my swan song for my Manon. And I moved on to greener pastures. I switched to JP last week and then immediately won our local. It's really funny what a top tier will do for you. What I am trying to do in the FGC is I want to use my experiences here in order to create a generalized framework for competition across a wide area of avenues. You see, in my experiences, there are so many parallels between all these different competitive games and sports that I've done, and I want to be able to share my experiences and enrich other people's competitive interests. For myself, I think that competition is a really fertile ground in which we can kind of enrich our own lives and our own experiences. And I want to be kind of like an example of that for others. For my students, for maybe people I haven't met yet, but I just think it's so cool what it can do for you. I think that fighting games and just competition generally can lead to better self-improvement. It's something that I teach here at my school, is that even in an environment that's seemingly zero-sum, such as a tournament or a competition, we can all glean some value from it. And I think that the Next Up series it shares a lot of the same values, I think, and that investing in our grassroots community just is going to lead us all to flourish, right? A rising tide raises all ships. I hope to bring a unique look to the competition, and I thank you for your consideration.